I also gave out some free game on Twitter recently. But what got this thought going in my head recently was looking at the top 16 of UK and Ireland. And there was two specific matches. It was Mystic versus Infectious, and it was One Step Layer versus Problem X. If you look at both of those, the underdog, One Step Layer, he's about to win. And it seems like it's all going in his favor. Problem X comes back and wins. Was I surprised? Not at all. But maybe not for the reason you're thinking. Same thing with Mystic versus Infectious. Mystic is using poison going up against the Infectious Kin. Mystic playing great, and it looks like it's going to be all over with. And of course, Infectious brings it back and he wins. I think the reason is that most people, like you see in the tweet that I put up, most people are only focused on improving their skill. But really, it's the mental side. The closer it gets to winning time, that's usually when someone is going to snap. Can you actually handle those bright lights? And I feel like in those spots, those guys, as good as they are, the reason they lost was because of exactly that. People should train that side of their game more to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The format of a tournament is can be volatile if you allow it to be on your mental state, right? Like it's 2 games. It's very quick. It can happen very quick, and all that training you put into it, it can go out the window with one mistake. And I feel like, yeah, you have to be able to recover from that. You have to have tricks to be like, okay, put that behind you, because I feel like that's something that I naturally don't have, and that's something I still combat to this day, is like how to mentally move on from certain things occurring. Like, how do you put things behind you quickly? How do you stay in the moment at that when you're in that situation where like you missed a punish and you had that opportunity, and then suddenly you eat a crush counter and the momentum's gone from you? How do you like almost erase that moment from your mind and stay focused on how to deal with the current situation? Not be like, oh, there was my shot, right? Because you're still in the game. How do you, because there's even like defense mechanisms. I remember in the past, I felt like when things were not going my way, I would be watching myself play or removing myself from the situation, and I would realize that's almost like an ego defense mechanism, to be like, I don't care. No, you care. I care.
You gotta embrace
right.
it. Embrace
and
that
that's
care.
those things where I've learned to combat, like, no, stay in the moment, like, stay active, stay sharp, look what's happening here. And yeah, I feel like that's definitely what separates most players. And I agree that, I saw that tweet interaction, and some people brought up an interesting point about what they care more about, actually. And I thought that was a pretty interesting take on it. Because some people said that they would rather players be playing their sharpest no matter what. Like, if nerves weren't a factor, they'd rather see them take the technical skill to the ultimate level and do everything that they're capable of on a technical level, and barring all the nerves and pressure, see them perform it that way. And I thought that, yeah, I kind of see that. Like, we're all interested in seeing the depths that the game alone allows us to go. But at the end of the day, this is human drama. Like, that's what competition is. Like,
yes.
Like the technical aspect of it. Like, I'm a nerd and I love this nerd side of fighting games. I love that stuff. But for 99.9% of people, what they care about is the pressure. Even if there's slop, even if people are dropping things, that's part of the excitement. That's the tension.
I love that.
Right.
It's a big moment. Bro, if somebody plays in a match and, maybe like a big top 8 or something like that at a major, and then you see their hands shaking after the match is over. I've seen that multiple times, literally hands physically shaking. So, I think there's a whole lot of self-talk necessary to put yourself in the moment, right? And actually, one more thing I want to make sure I bring up with that is the fact that there's a lot of, the way I would word it personally, bro, is God worship. Y'all know what I'm talking about, bro. There's a whole lot of God worship that happens in fighting games. And at the end of the day, you're like, bro, if you about to go play a match, this is my opinion, right? This is just my opinion. I don't think at all getting a picture from someone, for example, is God worship. That's just being a fan. And I will do that if I see somebody that I'm a fan of and out in the world, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But let's say it's time to play in tournament and we sit at the setup. I see people take a picture with Daigo before the match. No, there's no way. I don't know a picture with Daigo. I'm trying to smoke you right now. Are you serious?
But what if you do smoke him after you take the picture?
Well, now
then you're a legend.
Now you're a legend. Now you're godlike. I don't know if anyone could. I know we've all seen.
Has that ever happened?
Yeah, has it ever happened? Like,
please. I've taken a picture after a tournament, and now looking back at it years later, I wonder if that was
If you lost every time that you
after a tournament, I beat a player and I was a fan and I took a picture after the tournament.
Okay.
Now years later, I'm like, if someone did that to me,
how would you feel? Like you just beat me and now you want a picture? Yeah. But like,
nice to meet you, man.
But it end up making it to certain points is because you have to believe really in your heart that that's just another person with a controller.
You ever talked about like your tournament run or someone and you'd be like, oh, I lost to so-and-so, and you'd be like, oh yeah, but that was so-and-so.
And
I'm
makes me so
or
mad,
they'll be like,
bro.
at least you lost to so-and-so. And I'm like, that's no consolation prize. Like
I got that vibe watching Texas Showdown, bro.
There's a certain level you get to where it's like there's no more consolation prizes. You know what I mean? The way I always judge my personal success in any kind of tournament run I have is like, did I play the way I meant to play? Did I execute on the things I wanted to? Are the players I beat, like the matches that went down, was I able responding to things I knew I was capable of well, and did I beat the players that I feel like I could have or competed on the level I should have? It's not, I lost to this person, they're better than me, so, it's okay. Like, that's never, ever the mindset you have. You can have realistic expectations, sure, but that keeps growing as you grow as a player, and there's a certain point where that's done. Like, there's a certain level you get to where you should be like, I should be able to compete with anybody. I have maybe more odds or less odds depending on the level this person is at, but the odds are there, and you're shooting for to maximize your chances to get that win. Even if it may not be in your favor, you're believing that it can land in your favor in that moment, and you're done accepting these consolation prizes. And that is a huge thing that I hear. Like, you talk about this to people who maybe aren't as invested, and they approach it with that mindset, and I'm like, that doesn't make me feel better at all.
I swear, bro, like, have you ever played, I mean, for sure you have, like, people who are much better in casuals than tournament?
Yeah.
Like, that's a widespread phenomena right there. And it's
there's players who I've beaten in every tournament and I can't take sets off them.
Bro, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, this is kind of, at least it feels some type of difficult when they're just playing for free and open. Like, this is such facts. I could tell you names of people that I've experienced that with, but of course that'd be messy, so I won't. But I promise you, there's some people like they'll play in such a weirdo, crazy type of way, which, that's not to say it's a bad way to play. But then in a tournament, it's so much easier to read people. Like, I really find tournaments way easier than a regular, like, casual. But so one thing I'll bring up though, as far as how to overcome this, right? I say this on Twitter as well. I feel like there's two separate ways. One is changing your perspective. If you master number one, you don't need to master number two, honestly. Like, you don't need number two as much. But your perspective alone, talking to yourself in your brain, bro, like, yo, I can do this, or that sounds generic, but I've beaten players like this. This is something that's big for me, Brian. There will be more tournaments. Win, lose, or draw. I tell myself that, and it helps me so much,
Interesting.
Bro. Like, do you know, I have felt so salty, so sad, so down on myself how many times in tournaments at this point, and yet eventually I was happy again and I was at another tournament. So why am I feeling like it's life or death on this one moment? It doesn't make sense.
Right. That's true. I mean, you got to give it like an hour or two, though, man. That mood swing after losing a tournament, it's a wild ride.
You do gotta. I'll make sure I don't forget, because I already said I was gonna bring up two. The second one is experience. So of course, and I feel like that one kind of goes without saying. So as far as actually no, it doesn't. This is why. The first one, if you have a perspective, then you're good. But experience kind of beats perspective into you to some degree. I highly recommend, this is just me, I'm not speaking for Capcom, I'm not speaking for nobody, Big Carlo will speak for itself. I personally recommend, of course, traveling to tournaments if you can. And outside of this playing, or even playing online tournaments with some type of stakes. And outside of just that, I think money matching is one of the smartest things that I have ever done in fighting games to help me level up faster. Find somebody around your skill level or better than you and money match them. They're gonna play a whole lot more serious. And the fact that there's stakes on it makes it so that you're gonna be able to practice. The money doesn't actually matter. It's the fact that they won money from you, right? It's the principle that matter, right? That's it does, because someone can then, I beat so and so in casuals. Who cares? I beat so and so in a money match.
You don't have to tell them it was
People don't even
it was
look, if somebody said
$1.25.
they beat somebody in a money match, you don't even ask them how much it was for.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was $2, a couple pennies, and some pocket lint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the principle of the matter. Like suddenly there's ego involved there, and players are going to take it more seriously. And you need to do that, even if you lose. You know what I'm saying? It's a good check. It helps you get accustomed to those kind of stakes for sure. And I think on the other hand, even accepting money matches from players who are worse than you because you have more to lose.
That's true.
I think there's also that.
They're gonna be talking if you lose.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's once you become more established, it's a different perspective to it as well. It's like, do I want to deal with someone bringing this up years later from a money match for whatever's in my pocket at the time?